Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be ranking the Friday the 13th films. Now, I'm really pleased I was able to do this review series because I feel like after Nightmare on Elm Street, this has always been my favorite franchise. And it deserved my second big review series. And I think the videos, some got some good views, and I hope you enjoyed them because I really enjoyed making them. It was really a big treat for me. Because I think even though I say the Elm Street films are my favorite ones nowadays, as I'm 16 now, I still think the Friday the 13th films were my personal favorite when I was younger, about 8, 9, something like that. So this is my ranking of the films. Now this is going to be probably a very different one for most people's. There's some films on here that I like that others hate, can't stand with a passion. And there's some films on here that I like that I dislike that others love. So, although I think I only dislike one film in this franchise, and that's out of the 12, only one. So, and that, you probably can tell what it was because it's my review that I didn't like the most making. But that movie that's the one I dislike the most is still not bad. I don't hate it, or nor do I dislike it that much. I just kind of don't like it. That's because it's a little. And you'll probably know what it is, but without further ado, let's get right into it. With number 12, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. Now, I really like the director. I think first project, he wanted to do something new. But with this franchise is already an established franchise. It's hard to go in. You can't really go in the ninth film and try to rewrite like the history of the character. Like, for example, they try to connect. I think the director, his name was Marcus. He tried to connect, not the same Marcus from. It's Adam Marcus or something. Adam Marcus. He tried to connect Friday the 13th to the Evil Dead. So he put the Necronomicon in and the Kandarian dagger, and trying to make it like maybe Mrs. Voorhees resurrected Jason through the Necronomicon, which, I mean, he doesn't really act like a Deadite, so that theory I think is debunked basically, but at the same time, you're kind of rewriting Jason's mythology. He should just be his own thing, not connected to another horror franchise. I also don't believe he asked Sam Raimi for the ability, or he didn't ask Sam Raimi to be able to use the Necronomicon in it. I've heard that. Nobody knew about it. So, and then I think that Kane Hodder, we don't really get to see much of him because he's basically Jason's spirit. He gets blown up at the first 5-7 minutes of this film, and then his spirit possesses different people. He goes from body to body, and then he finally resurrects through his kin, one of his family members, Diana, I think is supposed to be his sister, and it's just weird. I feel like it tried something new, so I know a lot of people get refreshed by it, but I for one enjoyed Part 8, so I don't know how much this one's a big refreshing thing for me, because I know some of you guys probably disagree with that. What I just said, I enjoyed Part 8, but I'll explain that in 2 movies where it's ranked at number 10. But even though I just like The Final Friday, I think it has some good stuff. I think it tried something new, but at this point in the franchise, I feel like you really shouldn't be trying to put this much new stuff into it. But, props to Adam Marcus for, trying something. He really did. Even if it wasn't the right time, he tried. He didn't just make another carbon copy, and it really just shows you how different the New Line films are from the Paramount films. I'm more a fan of the Paramount films, but I also enjoy Jason X and then Freddy vs. Jason. Even the remake I enjoy. So I do enjoy the New Line films, but not as much as the Paramounts. So number 11 is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Now I like Reggie. I think he's a good character. I like his older brother Demon. I think he's good. He's a very enjoyable part of this film. I don't like the Roy Burns twist. I think Tommy, definitely my least favorite portrayal of Tommy Jarvis in the whole franchise of his 3 films. However, I think that he does a good job of looking like a scared guy who's people think's the killer, basically. Because they were trying to do a whodunit, so they kind of had to set him up to be the killer, so he kind of takes a backseat role in this film. And that's probably why he's my least favorite, because we see a lot more of him in Part 6 and Part 4. But still, and I think that Pam is an okay final girl. She's nothing. She's not a standout compared to the rest. I'm making a video ranking the final girls, maybe a few videos from now. But I really enjoy. I enjoy the kills. I really enjoy the kills. The belt, and then there's a lot of nudity in this film. I think one of the most like famous tit scenes of the whole franchise is in this one. The director, apparently he was really into pornos. I think he used to direct them a lot. So there's a whole scene where it just pans on a girl laying there, tits out, you know. And yeah, I mean, the franchise has always been big in nudity, but this is probably the most like sleazy one of the franchise. So as much as I kind of like it. This is when I start liking these films. Like Jason Goes to Hell, I didn't like, but this is I like Part 5. Number 10, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, here's where you guys are probably gonna say, "How can you like this film?" It's Jason on a boat. Basically, it's cheap. Honestly, yeah, it can be a little cheap looking. Like the scene where the death scene is so bad that he doesn't actually get his throat slit, and then it's the back of the knife for the machete, not the front, so it doesn't make any sense. But the scenes you do get in New York or Vancouver are actually really cool. And I think Kane Hodder's portrayal is very underrated in this film because he plays a very menacing Jason. He catches up to anybody. It's like he can't run from him, basically. Although there's things where people think he can teleport, because there's some scenes he probably can. Like when he goes on top of the mast of the boat and throws the guy down when he was just on the ground a second ago. So, yeah, that doesn't make much sense, but there's stuff that makes up for it. The Darkest Side of the Night is a killer soundtrack, killer opening song of the film, killer opening. Jason stops a rape, which is a pretty amazing scene in this film. Fuck rapists. And overall, that's what makes it enjoyable. So stuff like that. The boxer Julius, his head getting knocked off after only one punch, is really cool. Very fun. A little corny, I wouldn't, but it's an awesome scene because Jason's taking hits, and Kane was taking those hits. The Sonic kill I kind of like, where that guy gets stabbed by the hot rock, which it was supposed to be something else originally. I think Remy's a very underrated final girl. I think she's actually really good. Her backstory is good. How her uncle tried to drown her. I think there's some depth to her. I don't think she's Tina or she's Jenny or she's Chris. I don't think she's up there with them, or Trish. She's not up there with them, but she's a good final girl. And yeah, I do think the way they killed Jason off is really corny and dumb. The whole sewage, or the toxic waste that goes through New York sewers every night apparently, and it melts him back into a kid. It's a very dumb. That's the dumb part that I don't like about it. But I like this film. I actually do. So number 9 is Friday the 13th, the original. So that's gonna be controversial. Betsy Palmer, great as Pamela. I think Adrienne King, she did good as Alice, but she's not my favorite final girl. I don't even know if I think I prefer Remy over her. I think that this movie does drag a little bit. It has a lot of filler in it. It's a very important horror film, and Tom Savini has great effects, but when I'm returning to a Friday the 13th film, I don't usually return to ones without Jason. And that's why it goes so low, honestly. I do like it. I think it's a very important legacy. It's one of the most influential horror films, but it's not one I return too much. That's why it's number 9. That's not calling it bad. I think it's a good film. Like I said, I like it, and that's what you're gonna hear from most of these. The next 3 I like. Then I start getting to the ones I love, or the next 4 I like. So the next one on the list at number 8 is Friday the 13th, the remake. I used to hate this film. I've grown my love for this film. I think it gave us everything we needed. A return to form. Derek Mears does a great job playing a very big and intimidating Jason. I think that Jared Padalecki's good in this film. I even think Trent's good. I think the whole plot about Jason being more of a hunter and being more like a survivalist, setting these traps, is an interesting idea. I think the director, Marcus Nispel, did good. The cinematography, it was great in this film. And some people call the characters cliche, but they feel like Friday the 13th characters, believe me. They're very early Friday the 13th type characters of the early films, first 5. And this is more of a remix of the first 4, basically. It puts it in modern times, basically. So it wasn't a straightforward remake of the original, which I really respect. And that's why it's number 8 in this. Again, I like this movie. Number 7. Jason X. Now, some of you guys are probably saying, how could you put Jason X over the original? And I hope it doesn't sound too bad, because like I said, I like that movie. But this movie, and even to might say, why'd you put over the remake? But honestly, this is just my personal list, and I love Jason X. I love its goofiness, I love its campiness, I love how it takes place in space, I love the Uber Jason, I love how he gets killed by this robot chick and then he cuts her head off or something. All of it. Just such a fun movie. It's very cheap kind of feeling, but it's also at the same time, it feels good. It was a good return to Jason being a slasher compared to the sci-fi kind of elements of, not sci-fi, but supernatural like elements of Jason Goes to Hell. And it is a pretty, I think it's starting to get its flowers. I think people are starting to come around to it. But I really enjoy it. It's campy, but it's very enjoyable. Now, when I say objectively, it is nowhere as good as the original Friday the 13th or even the remake, but in my opinion, I like it a little bit more. But again, you could probably put the original here at number 7, or you could put the remake here at number 7. It's very interchangeable. The next one on the list is Freddy vs. Jason, which I had a lot of fun with this on rewatch. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's more of a Freddy movie, and Jason is definitely, given the backseat a little bit. He has more kills, but it's more like he's more lumbering and slow, and like he's not the intimidating Jason you would think of. Yeah, he's still intimidating, but he wouldn't you probably could outrun him compared to the one from like Part 4 or the remake or Part 6 even, or even Part 2, Part 3. I don't know, Part 2 is more beatable, but still. Just overall, that final 15 minutes of their fight makes everything worth it. Just the gore we get in this film, Robert Englund's portrayal, his last portrayal as Freddy. Hope he gets another one soon, which he probably won't. Just everything about this film, I love. It turned out as good as a crossover film between these two could have. With all those different cooks in the kitchen, it turned out really good with this film. And I love this film. I honestly love it. So the next one on the list, number 5, is Friday the 13th, Part 7, A New Blood. Again, I used to not like this one that much, but now I've started to enjoy this one a lot more. I think that Kane Hodder, this is my favorite Jason portrayal. He's very intimidating. I love the design, how his bones are starting to show, his jaw is revealed, his spine and his rib cage is showing. He looks like he's been underwater for so long, and you can tell he's got kind of mossy looking. That's more Part 8's design, but just the damage you can see from his body across the time, like the broken chain around his neck from where he was chained to the bottom of that rock after Part 6. Just, I love it. I wish the gore was better because this one was cut down a lot more, and I think that I really enjoy the final girl. Tina Shepard, her telekinesis, is a pretty cool idea. I know it was supposed to be Jason versus Carrie, but this movie gets a lot of hate. Honestly, people say it's terrible. It did everything that it completely changed formula again after Part 6. It set it in a new direction. Yeah, Part 6 is my favorite one. Spoiler alert. But also at the same time, Part 7 needed to be its own thing. So that being a more serious film with telekinesis helped it. To me. That's why I love it. These are the films I love. Here's where we get to my S tier films, to the top 4 films, in my opinion. Number 4, Friday the 13th Part 2, an amazing sequel. It's very fast-paced, but it's a fun film to watch. It is. It never drags. I've never had a single unenjoyable watch of this film. Although I think Jason's sackhead look isn't that bad, but it's also kind of goofy looking. It's not the hockey mask, and the look to me, Jason's a lot more beatable in this film. He's less he's not as scary as he is in Part 3 or Part 4 or Part 6, 7, something like that. But Jenny makes up for it. Jenny is a great final girl, probably the greatest in this franchise. Objectively the greatest. Amy Steele does a great job playing her. She does that really cool, messing with Jason's psychology at the end. And then they beat him for the first time. Machete through the shoulder, and he falls and for a little bit is passed out. There's also that quick jump scare at the end of the film the one where he jumps to the window, which is a nightmare basically. And I know Ginny was supposed to come back in part 3, but I don't know if Amy still could, so that's how we got the Higgins Haven plot, which I'm thankful for because I love that film, part 3. You'll see in a minute. So number 3, after part 4, is Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter. After number 4, after part 2, is number 3, Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter. I don't know why I said part 4. This one ain't even called part 4. It's called the final. They never added that to it, but I love Ted Wise's portrayal. Corey Feldman, the ending of this film. Trish is a great final girl. I think besides Ginny, after rewatch, I'd say she's probably my second favorite. She's very resourceful. I like the characters. Crispin Glover's character's great. Teddy's good. The Oldman twins, if there's a lot. This one's got a lot of nudity again. Mainstay in the franchise. And there's that really old weird scene where he's watching this old-fashioned porno, Teddy is. And then, again, like, it just feels a lot more alive. The characters feel a lot more relatable in this film, to me. Like, I think I can remember all of them. At least of the main Jarvis family. And, like, just Jason in this film is a lot more fast-paced, fast-moving. Just, he does not mess around. There's several different kills that are iconic. The corkscrew kill, the Ted getting stabbed in the back of the head, and even Jason's death is probably the most iconic for me, where he gets sliced in the side of the eye and he falls down to his machete through his head, and then Tommy chops him up. Just amazing way to end the first 4 films. Amazing way. And this really was an end of an era for the franchise, because Jason wasn't in the next film, and once he resurrected, they really felt more high budget, basically. They're better looking, but there's just so much charm to these first 4, and I love this one. It used to be my top 2, and it could be my top 2 tomorrow. It could be my top 1 the next day. I don't even know, because these films change in my mind. So, number 2, Friday the 13th, part 3, 3D. Now, this movie gets a lot of hate. The 3D gimmick stuff, I get. It's kind of goofy. But this film really did impact a lot of the franchise. Just the hockey mask. And just, I love it. It was my personal favorite when I was younger. About 7, 8, 9 years ago. And it's still maybe my personal favorite. I'd say part 6 is still better for me, honestly. But this one is just, I love Richard Brooks' performance. I really enjoy Chris as a final girl. I think she's underrated. She's top 3 in the franchise for me. I think that there's some good kills in this film. The harpoon kill, I find so much enjoyment in this. I do not like the whole thing where Jason's implied to have assaulted Chris. I think that's very out of character for him, and that also drags it down a little bit from being my favorite. But just, this is one of those Friday the 13th films I recommend anybody, because it really just gives you Jason. And he's pretty, this is where he gets intimidating. Part 2 wasn't that intimidating. This film, he actually is more scary. I even like the biker characters. And Jason gets an axe to the head, which knocks him out for like 2 nights or something. So, the one thing that does bring this down too is the twist the extra jump scare ending or something where Pamela Voorhees jumps out of the water and tries to drag Chris under. Even though Chris didn't even know who Pamela was, so that means it doesn't make any sense. It's just a little bit of a cheap rip-off of the original's ending. So that's one thing I don't like about it, but everything else I really enjoy about this film. I think Vera's a good character. I do think Shelly's annoying, but he's pretty lovable. And there's some weird acting, like when the stoner wife is, screaming Shelly's dead. But again, I haven't read this up yet, but Harry Manfredini's score is good. Is really great in this one. The disco opening, I love it. So number 1 is Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. The comedy, Tom McLaughlin adding a comedy part of this film. Just Jason, C.J. Graham, a former Marine, Barrington Day in this film. Tommy Jarvis, played by Tom Matthews. Great, my favorite Tommy Jarvis of them all. You can just see the trauma in him. Like the resurrection scene of Jason where he gets stabbed in the chest and the lightning hits him, and it just, like the dark comedy. This is a very big, one of the greatest horror comedies for me. And I've read Kevin Williamson, the writer of Scream, he once said this movie inspired him. And I can see that. It's a very meta film for 86. This is like, for me, out of meta films of all time, top 3. But probably behind New Nightmare and Scream, but it's up there. I love this film. It is very fun to watch. I watch this one at least every October. I'll watch it in June. I really enjoy the ending. I love how Tommy finally gets Jason down there, and hopefully he gets a nice new life with Megan, and they get to leave Camp Crystal Lake and all that. I love that. I think the sheriff is really cool. He's a funny guy. He's a good dad, though. I think Megan's a good final girl. She's not my favorite, but she's underrated. And I think that overall, this is a fun horror comedy. There's some dark humor around there, and there's some good kills. The intro looks kind of like a James Bond intro, so it sets the tone up. And this is the Friday the 13th film I'd recommend the most, honestly. But let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite film in the comments? Let me know, and just thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. I couldn't have done this without you, because I do this all for you. I'll see you guys in the next one. That didn't make much sense. I'll see you guys in the next one for whatever I review next. I don't know if it's going to be I'm still thinking about if it's going to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Child's Play or something else. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Comment down below what you want out of those two, or even Hellraiser. I'm not excited about that one, but if you guys pick it, I'll do it. And remember, Christ loves you guys. I love you guys. Stay blessed. See you in the next one.